Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla stock, let's go over the market, let's talk about what is happening in the market, what we can expect moving forward, and all that good stuff. If you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice, and I'm not a financial advisor. And of course, if you enjoy my technical analysis, thoughts on the charts, etc., well, again, I do share my thoughts with my members every single day as the market's open. Definitely check that out. That link, of course, is in the description of any single video. It's the first link. You can click this one right here, and you get access to this window where you can join for just $3 a month. You get access to the first tier, which includes all my Tesla updates, broader market updates as well, options flow, different time frame analysis, etc. Tier 2 for $5 a month includes what I just mentioned, plus NVDA if you're interested for those NVIDIA updates. And then, of course, $7 a month includes everything, right? You get the first two tiers, plus, of course, everything in Tier 3, private access to our Discord. We have a chat room, our members trade. I do chart requests every single Sunday with members as well. And you get all my Tier 3 posts, obviously, on YouTube, where I share essentially non-Tesla stocks, non-NVIDIA stocks, when they're setting up nicely, when something is looking pretty juicy in the market. So, yeah, jumping into it, though, Tesla. Down about 0.7% on a day, not too much, right? Recovering pretty nicely, still holding this sort of, kind of mid to low-ish, we'll say 420s range, right above that 21 EMA, all on declining volume. So these are signs I actually do like to see, right? We are seeing stuff that I do want to see. But the next step, obviously, like I said yesterday, is a breakout, right? Until we get an actual breakout, there's nothing guaranteed. Well, even a breakout's not guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed, but nothing of substance, I guess is a better word to say it. Nothing of real substance is developing, or I guess not really developing. Something is developing, more like nothing is really coming to fruition just yet, is what I'm trying to say, right? Again, we want a breakout, right? Whether it's the daily, whether it's the 1 hour time frame, you can see, we're still rejecting at, roughly this sort of trend line, right? We're constantly getting these rejections, right? Over and over and over. Now, Tesla's very close. Don't get me wrong. We're very close, right? The bulls are holding exactly where they need to. They're not really letting price slip too much farther down than this, we'll say mid-ish 420s zone, which is good, which is a good sign. We just need slightly more bullish pressure to come in as early as tomorrow, really. And I think this one can actually definitely go higher, right? So there's two levels I'll be looking at right now. We have the 9 EMA sitting at 437, and we're kind of treating it as a bit of a resistance here. But if Tesla can break above even just 2 days high tomorrow, would be a good sign. But I would be even more, I guess, it would be a higher degree of confidence if we can break above yesterday's high, closer to about 441 roughly, give or take. Excuse me, give me a second. I was eating a bar and then there's something in my throat. But yeah, so I'll be looking for those levels to break, right? Because again, once we break out these levels, not only do we break, previous highs, because you can see each time we're making lower highs on the daily, right? Each candle is lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, right? So we're compressing. But the good news is this happening on lower volume. So those are good signs. We just need to essentially break this, chain that we're doing where we're constantly making these lower highs. Excuse me. It's like a crumb of this bar in my throat. And my goodness, it's annoying. But we need to break those highs, and that should send Tesla higher, right? And that's kind of what we want to be looking for moving forward. To see the stock, in my opinion, the first target would be once we break out of this, break this downward trend line, break these highs, right, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I actually think, I wouldn't be surprised to see about 460, honestly, next week probably, right? And as long as Tesla doesn't get essentially a large gap down again, like it did this morning off of investigation news, as long as that doesn't happen again, the stock does look ready. It looks, or at the very least, very damn close to being ready. All it needs is like a small little push up higher, break out from this zone, and it looks good, right? It looks good, in my opinion, of course, not financial advice, up to, at the very least, 450. But my main target will be closer to 460. That is where I would like to see Tesla go to, right? That's kind of that target where we have this massive sell-off, push up, retreat, and then move our way back up. For instance, if we go to the 1 hour time frame, you can see the levels that the bulls are holding are pretty good levels, right? You can see here, right? It's right around that 620 Fibonacci, but even on these kind of wicks down here where they kind of wick down below, but then the bulls, of course, picked it back up, got pretty close to the green fibs. So, it's holding around key levels here. All it needs essentially, again, like I said, is that one tiny little push higher, right? One tiny little push above. And I think this thing can definitely, at the very least, revisit this sort of 460s-ish region. But tomorrow, that'll be a pretty key day, right? Because again, tomorrow is, of course, a weekly closure. Do we get a weekly? Because if it happens tomorrow, we can get a weekly closure above these green Fibonacci's, which again, like I said, is a very good sign because that to me, again, it doesn't eliminate any pullbacks. Like we're still going to get pullbacks. It just severely eliminates the possibility of this massive move up to the upside with these green Fibonacci's being a very large dead cat that essentially offsets this very large drop that we had, right? So again, that would be a very positive development, at least in my opinion, that, if that were to happen, then any pullbacks I would view as very, stronger bullish opportunities right around, especially this trend line eventually, right? Again, we're playing, the difference between a weekly and a daily and a 1 hour time frame, right? One could be bullish while the other could be bearish, or vice versa. And it's not to say the weekly is bearish necessarily. It's just more like, if we get like a deeper pullback to this, very strong support line around this trend line that has been supporting price on the weekly for quite some time, maybe we go in there sideways and then we go sideways and then earnings, and then we drop to earnings, and then we head higher. Like, I don't know how it'll play out, but if and when, of course, we ever get that revisit to this trend line, if we kind of get that break above these green fibs, that would be, in my opinion, a stronger bullish retrace, as opposed to if we don't break these Fibonacci's and we have this issue and we just cannot close weeklies above this range, then especially if we lose this trend line, that would be definitely more concerning. So hopefully that makes sense, right? But that's kind of the weekly time frame. But the daily, like I said, the main thing I'm looking at the daily in the 1 hour is, it's very, very, very close to getting this breakout, right? A nice little situation setting up here, nice little, bull flag, maybe bull wedge, right? Again, like I said, it could be something like this setting up instead, right? Maybe it's a bullish wedge. So if I delete this and it looks something like that instead, right? Whichever one it is, it doesn't really matter. Like I mentioned yesterday, all that really matters is a break above this upper trend line on a descending channel, right? And a descending channel, upper trend line, ascending channel, bottom trend line. Those are the ones that really matter, at least in my opinion. At least, to change the direction of the stock, the trend, short or long term. So that's the main thing I'll be looking at for Tesla stock moving into tomorrow, honestly, tomorrow. And if we get that tomorrow, if we can get that breakout tomorrow, if both can show strength essentially really above about 440-ish, that would be a good sign going into next week. And I really think next week can see 460s. That's kind of my guess, or not my guess, but my educated guess, right? Those levels, that's what they will be telling me. That's what that movement will be signaling to me. So let's continue monitoring that, right? But again, it's worth mentioning, like if we get a gap down tomorrow, if Tesla opens down another % tomorrow, again, for whatever reason, we just cannot seem to break above, we are still technically, despite the breakout being very close, we're still technically in this descending kind of, channel bull flaggy situation where until we get that breakout, technically speaking, a path of least resistance is still down, right? We could get a gap down and still make our way down to about that, almost 410-ish region. That is still a possibility, guys. It is very much a real possibility because we're still technically within this downward sort of channel type pattern, if you will, right? A breakout is needed to, get bullish movement from this region, if you will. So again, worth monitoring, guys. That's worth monitoring. Let's see how that actually plays out. In terms of options flow, or rather in terms of broader market very quickly, SPY, right? Back to the 9 EMA, so far holding, right? It is what it is, right? It's continuing to hold the 9 EMA. Held it here, held it today as well. Until the market, again, starts losing key levels, like the 9 EMA being the first one, but, the main one, in my opinion, being the 21 EMA, and again, about 663, 664, something like that is the second major level, with the next one, in my opinion, the big level would be 655 roughly, because that would be kind of that, a break of that lower low. That would be a much larger concern. So small concern, medium concern, large concern. Think of it that way, right? But, honestly, even the medium concern one is definitely worth paying attention to if, of course, it actually happens, right? But so far, again, I've been saying many times, the market is still bullish. The bulls are still hanging on to key moving averages. So far, so good. I see no major signs of worry, if you will, in the market, at least not yet. We could develop them. They could appear. They could happen. Maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, maybe the week after that. I don't know when it's going to happen, right? But too many people try to predict these things as if they can predict exact tops and exact bottoms. You can't do that. You have no idea how to do that. I don't know how to do that. Nobody knows how to do that, right? All we can do is just give or take what the chart is giving us. And the chart is still continuing to show that the bulls are still in full control here. Overall, at least overall, again, watch for those key levels, watch for those three main points, especially the second one, in my opinion. The second one is, not too far down, but enough of a break if it were to happen to signal, issues, I guess, let's just say that, right? So, but again, we're still holding strong. So nothing really to be worried about, at least not yet, in my opinion. So options flow on Tesla stock, surprisingly pretty mixed, right? 9.5 million overall bullish flow, and then 8.9 bearish flow. Again, with my settings, I have it at 100K plus premium. I don't really care about what someone with 10K or 20K is buying. I want to know what someone with 100K, 500K, a million. That's what I want to see. Overall, yeah, I mean, pretty bearish to start off the day. Then, kind of mixed and slightly bearish here. But then towards the end of the day, the bulls slowly started coming in. We have, calls for tomorrow, 430, 435. Next week calls for 430 as well. But overall, to be completely honest, the options flow on Tesla also today was not only a little more muted than usual, but pretty mixed. Honestly, pretty damn mixed. I wouldn't say one side or the other really has a clear advantage, at least based on today's flow. So, you know, not really giving us too much information, unfortunately, this time around. But I'd definitely be watching for a potential breakout into tomorrow, right? Tomorrow's Friday. Tesla loves Fridays. Tesla's, you know, more often than not, at least for the last several weeks, has enjoyed Fridays. Not every Friday, of course. It's not perfect. But more often than not, Fridays have been good days for Tesla stock. So let's see if tomorrow we get that breakout as well. But yeah, all in all, thanks for watching, guys. See you tomorrow. Peace.